Welcome to Crash Coursing, a new sports series dedicated to sharing stories of some of the industry's top leaders in the areas of digital trends and social media. Huge welcome to my next guest, Nick Lawson from Squad HQ, whose company has worked with the likes of the Chicago Bulls and major sports leagues, providing them with top-of-the-line sponsorship activations, which not only engage fans, but companies looking to strike a chord with the right audience. So, Nick, welcome, bro.
Thanks for having me, man. Big fan of yours. So excited we get to jam a little bit on what dude. I can talk about all day, which is sponsorship. So excited to chat with you.
Yeah, man. Before we even get into that, man, I am very interested in learning about your earlier days. What got you into sports? Like, what did you study in school? How did this happen?
Yeah, funny enough, my grandfather was a sports writer. So growing up, you heard the stories of all the places that he wrote about, all the games. So growing up was just with my grandfather watching sports. I then played football, ended up going to Willamette University, playing some football there.
Yeah.
Small school. But, I got my undergrad degree in art and design. And this was pre-social media. Graphics were the hot commodity. So, my first job in sports was just as a graphic design intern for a local minor league team. Really started understanding sponsorship at the same time going and getting my MBA. So, from there, what I pretty much did was evolved into the sponsorship lens while getting my MBA, working with a few teams. And, we started seeing that's around the time when brands were starting to say, hey, look, I'm looking, Facebook ads, there's all these other ways that we can digitally reach our fans and have it be trackable. Why would I buy a sign right now from you if I can really track to a purchase?
Where did you go to school? You said you got your MBA. Did you play college ball at all in school or college?
Yes. So I played for 4 years at Willamette University, and then ended up getting my MBA through their program as well. Awesome. So stayed in Salem, Oregon. So yeah, it was kind of straight through. And funny enough, I thought my MBA would get me far in the sports world, but a lot of people will, and I'll tell you this now, it's mainly about experience and understanding the industry. Yes. But yeah, back then brands were just looking for more digital options. We didn't really have any, and it was really expensive to kind of create it. So the first evolution of that was an app sort of company called Pick Six. Grew that to about 5 clients and tried to kind of take over as just a more engaging app. That ended up tanking and failing, and that kind of manifested in Squad, which are just more web activations to keep fans connected with sponsors. But yeah, it kind of it grew out of just really kind of looking at a need in the market and saying, hey, look, there's no great way to kind of solve for this. How can we, create a product that's going to help teams ultimately sell more sponsorship because they're more engaged and connected with fans.
Yeah, like you specifically work in the area of sports where there is just so much demand from a buyer's side, but very hard to convince, the paying customer on the other end. Talk to me about what got you into this very lucrative, fucking almost frustrating area and world of sponsorship and brand activations. Because you and I both, this shit isn't easy, man. So like, how did you? Why this specific genre when it's so like you're bound to run into so many dead leads and cold calls and like, so what makes you want to get up in the morning and do this?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of sponsorship is really building a partnership, right? And we can't forget that in sales. It's look, if I'm going to sponsor your team, I'm looking for a marketing return, and I'm looking for you to almost be an influencer or an introduction to your fans. The reason why I don't buy a highway billboard ad, but I buy an in-stadium sign is because you have an audience that when you as a team say, hey, look, we're vouching for this brand, they're an official brand of the team, you've built up enough goodwill to where you're influencing that purchase. So I think what really got me interested in this side of things was, how can we use sports to really make great connections between good brands and the fans that we have? The biggest problem that comes from that is just the evolution of what advertising is. We now have digital ads, and brands now have an option to track reaching you with a video all the way through a purchase and saying, if I spend $1 here, I'm getting $10 here. In sponsorship, we do have that, but we have that anecdotally, right? Like if you're buying a sign, you're looking at maybe sales over the next 7 months and seeing if that's an uptick, right? But as we're starting to see in the industry, especially now with marketing budgets being really constricted, just because there's not as many resources. If I say this all the time, if I'm a CMO and I'm saying, hey, look, do I want to spend $1 million on Facebook ads where I know exactly who to target, I know exactly that machine on that return, or $1 million on an in-stadium sign? Most of the time today, you're going to see that $1 million be spent on Facebook ads.
Yep.
The only time that a team can really, what we have as teams and sponsorship is emotion. We have an emotional connection that's beyond what a Facebook ad can provide. My big push in the industry and what interests me is how can we take what a Facebook ad has that's trackable, that can show the return, that's digital, and meld that into the experience that a team offers. So not only can we say, look, Lakers fans love the brands we work with, but I'm also going to prove to you that if you spend $500,000 with us, you're going to get $1.5 million back. Instead of just what we used to do in sponsorship was, hey, 2 million people saw your sign. Somebody made a purchase.
Somebody's made the purchase.
And that's, that doesn't fly anymore.
It doesn't fly anymore. Exactly. And one of the biggest problems, and not just like in sports in general and advertising, is that what you just mentioned, that people are spending big bucks still on traditional mediums such as TV, radio, print, with the notion that it's working. And I just talked to my friend Frank Smith yesterday about this. And because I come from the world of boxing where the ad expenditures are still very old school. And as much as I'm the only one in the game kind of telling them, hey, man, there's different verticals now, they're still so behind. And it's not just them. It's a lot of people just in the world of sports and any other businesses where they just feel like the money being spent on TV is well spent because of the fact that Nielsen, puts out these fabricated numbers that show you there's been 1 million people watching the show this Friday, but it's like the untrackable viewers, it's not quantifiable viewers. Where are you even seeing your return on investment when you spend that $1 million? And it's like the questions that they ask people like you and I, like, what's my return on investment? How can you guarantee me? They should be asking those fuckers that question because they can answer you. We'll show you the data. We'll show you exactly how fans are converting all the way up until, like you said, purchase. So this brings me to my next question. How do you answer some of those challenges in your world? Like, how do you answer these questions?
I think the biggest thing is, does a sign work? The answer is yes. It works. Can you tell necessarily? The answer is no. And I think the biggest thing is just opportunity. My big thing is like, why not have both? Why not have a sign up? And, I don't know if you've looked at the data recently on digital ad spending, but YouTube ads have just gone up, right? Mm. So, as a team, you have an old school sponsor and they're like, we only buy signage. We don't do this digital stuff. Why not go to them and say, hey, look, I totally get it, but you're buying a sign to be able to reach our fans. We have a YouTube channel that has 1.2 million subscribers. Why not also, let's buy pre-rolls or some integrations into that product so that we can reach new people. And that's an upsell, right? I mean, anytime you're selling something, you're trying to say, hey, look, you're spending money with me now and you see that it's great. My goal is to help you make even more money, right? So, that's the biggest thing there is the opportunity on the team side to just say, well, this guy or gal just wants to buy signs. Let's just give them signs, right? Yeah. When in actuality, what's happening is, the way that doesn't work is a CMO comes in and is totally data driven and totally digitally driven. And then next thing you know, they're like, well, I don't know if I want to spend on this. What's my return?
Thank you so much for saying that.
And you don't have the answer. So I think the biggest thing here is, it's accelerated with the COVID shutdown. But the biggest thing here, and what I've tried to harp on in the last year and a half is, when things are great, people buy signs. And that's because marketing dollars are flowing. And you can just say, you know what, I really just like this team. Let's just buy some signage, and I'm sure it will do a return. We don't have that anymore. And the more and more we learn about how powerful digital can be as a tool to track, increase awareness while tracking toward a sales. I mean, a YouTube ad is marketing plus sales, meaning it tells your story and then there's a button that you click to go 100%. Purchase.
Exactly.
And that's what I think the biggest thing for teams is you're missing out on an opportunity to upsell and you're missing out on the opportunity to not lose a customer when, again, that very data-driven CMO comes in for the first time and says, look, when I was at Pepsi, we ran YouTube ads and they were highly successful. Where can we cut so that we can spend on YouTube ads? You want to be the team that when they come in and just say, hey, we're not buying signs anymore.
We're ready. We're ready to go.
Ads. Cool. Yeah. Here's an integration into our YouTube series. We get around 50,000 views per month or whatever that is. Plug that in. Is that good to go? So I think that's the biggest thing, is just opportunity. You can think old school, but your opportunities to sell are just going to shrink and shrink as advertising evolves.
And as time goes on, absolutely. Chicago Bulls, Edmonton Oilers, the Grizzlies, New Jersey Devils. You work with some of the biggest leagues in sports, man. And with those leagues comes a committed and purchasing fan base. What was one of your favorite brand activations, and what value did it bring, not just to the league, but to the sponsor as well?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, and there's a ton, but the biggest one that I've enjoyed, especially as the shutdowns happened and they've been able to shift very well, is just Chicago Bulls. We do a Dunkin Race in stadium. It's been there since the 90s. It's an old school thing where fans usually just either get a coupon that says you have picked Biggie Bagel or Cuppy Coffee and doesn't let you actually pick, or fans just yell it out. And what we did is we helped digitize that experience, just to say, allow fans to choose who they think is going to win, and then if they win, email them a coupon or an offer from Dunkin' Donuts. So they did a great job of kind of driving those people in, and everybody ended up with a coupon, which was great, and again leads to a purchase. But they just really saw success there with, again, being nimble in this time to say, hey, look, we could just tell our sponsor, hey, I'm sorry, there's no games. We'll just have to wait till next season. And they said, no, we have an engaged following on Instagram. Let's move this there. Let's really, push the brand there and keep that alive. So that's my favorite so far, kind of in the shift of things, and obviously a return.
You know what? It's like, and I put this on LinkedIn the night that it happened. When the Wilder versus Fury big heavyweight fight happened, there was 0 brand activations that took place, and I was fucking livid. I couldn't understand why. It goes way deeper than how defragmented the sport really is. I mean, we won't get into that conversation, but the sponsorship side of it is something that I'm so passionate about, because I know how much I can bring to the table of boxing in terms of brand activation, what you're doing. And it's as simple as something like that, Nick. Like, get a fucking sponsor to come in and say, who's going to win this fight? Brought to you by McDonald's, Burger King. You get a free coupon. You know what I mean? Activate those brands. And it doesn't have to be at that level. There's so many like mid-level fights that happen at local shows. You know what I mean? Where like a guy from like, you hear about the new kid who's fighting the championship fight in his hometown, whether it's from Philadelphia or whether it's like, Ohio, wherever it is. And get a local brand. It doesn't always have to be somebody like Dunkin' Donuts. It could be Mary and Bob's Donuts. You know what I mean? Get them involved to give them some value. And I think that's how it all starts, doesn't it? It starts from the local restaurateurs and it moves up the ladder. In your experience, can you agree?
Yeah, there's very few national deals. And by that, I mean, usually it's local franchisees that are cutting the deal with you. You're really working with those local shops, and you should be, because they're going to see the most value. What was intriguing to me kind of on that is on the Fury fight was just the big thing that I would have been intrigued on is those boxers have such a following that you can do a national brand activation. But imagine if you went to a sponsor and said, hey, what we're going to do is in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, just let's say a sponsor says, hey, we're trying to engage people in the Phoenix area. And you just say, hey, look, a lot of our followers on our social media platforms are in the Phoenix area. I'm going to have Fury film a video that just says, hey, Phoenix area fans, go check out, I think I'm going to win tonight. Make sure you comment below whether you think I am or not. But either way, if I knock him out in the 6th round, or if I knock him down in the 6th round, everybody in the area is winning a buy one get one free. Just all you have to do is click below, enter your email, and you're entered in that if I knock him out, in the knock him down in the 6th round, then everybody in this area wins. And if you made 50 videos, which
50
would take
videos of
no
those.
time.
Yeah.
That's localized enough for them to be able to really track that. But to be honest, it takes Fury like no time to just be able to film that. And that's where I'm intrigued on boxing, because you can get very localized without being national. And I think a lot of these organizations might think nationally, but to be honest, the real dollars are going to be made locally in local markets where you can really do some damage. And if you have the ability with social, which you absolutely do, to be able to kind of localize that, people are much more likely to commit and, engage with that brand. I mean, if I'm scrolling down, you said, hey, everybody in Portland, this is Fury, I'd stop and I'd say, is this right?
You can target those posts to that person in Portland who's 18 to 35, whose last 30 days interest have kind of been boxing, and these are the trends that are going to start setting apart a lot of these local brands with the competition.
Here's the key thing I always tell people, because I worked in digital advertising as well, and I started to learn some things. If you don't offer this, here's what a brand's going to do. Hey, if we put some boxing gloves on a screen on fight night and just say the big fight, and don't use any names so we don't get sued, we can target boxing fans in our area. We can basically get paid off of the hype you're creating.
Yep.
And we can do it at a fraction of what I would pay you to be an official sponsor. So let's say Corona is the official sponsor. If I was Heineken, what I would do is I would just say, what are the biggest markets for boxing? Great. We're going to call it Fight Night. And we're just going to say, if the boxer in the red shorts knocks down the boxer in the white shorts round, everybody gets a free Heineken.
Yeah.
Paying $10 million, maybe you spend $150K, but your value is so much higher in the reach. And that's the biggest thing. If you're not doing these things, brands can go reach boxing fans. Like, the craziest thing you can do is on YouTube, you can actually go to somebody's YouTube channel. You can target people who are subscribed to that channel as a brand. So I don't even need the fighters anymore. I can go influence, those people without any of your marks or any of your brand. And to be honest, I tell this to teams all the time.
Why is this so important to know what you're saying? Because what it sounds to me like you're saying is anybody could just undercut the market at any time. And how important is it for boxing promotional companies to not let that happen? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, yes. I mean, I could right now with $250,000 undercut any fight. And the only thing that the boxers, the promotion companies have over me is their actual fighters saying, this is me, right? Like let's take it out of sports and put it toward Kim Kardashian. I could target Kim Kardashian fans or Kylie Jenner fans or whatever it may be with makeup. And, again, I can't say Kardashian approved, but I can hijack your following that you paid so much money to go grab.
Yeah.
Flip side, though, is people are lazy and brands are kind of lazy. That's a huge campaign. Why not be the boxing and promotion company that says, look, you totally could do this, but we already have these targeted campaigns set up. Mm-hmm. And you actually get Fury on the video and can use our marks instead of having to go around. That's when I'm a brand. That's when I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, I'll pay the extra money so that I don't actually have to execute these things. I can, utilize your power. So I think the biggest misconception that a lot of people have within sponsorship is that, hey, I'm protected, like my brand's protected. The best way to reach Denver Broncos fans is through the team. And to be honest, it's not. If you put something orange and blue up and you put a football up,
it's over.
You can literally draw a circle around the Broncos stadium and serve them Snapchat ads.
Yeah, 100%.
At a fraction of the price. So, I mean, that's the worry I have in the industry. And there's some brands tiptoeing that line of saying, why would I sponsor the Super Bowl with a commercial when I could just sponsor digital activations around it? That's the next step and next progression, I think, in sponsorship. And if you have the activations that can do that, you're good. You're going to make money. If you don't, if you really are saying, hey, here's a matte big logo that's going to be on TV, that, again,
they're not trackable. Yeah.
Like Corona is going to be pissed when Heineken comes back through and says like, well, how could you let this happen that they targeted all your fans? And why is Heineken the more talked about beer brand when Corona was on the mat? And as a boxing promotion company, you're kind of like, I don't have an answer. I mean, of course,
Exactly.
I might BS you.
Could we get your light back on there, Nick? I'll edit
Yeah,
this
yeah,
part.
yeah. It's motion.
Motion
So
sensor. Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead. Slap it. Is it on? Yeah, we're good. How do you see the future sponsorship activations in the future in the areas of brand, the fan, and the league? What do you see that's going to happen?
Yeah. Again, I think the biggest thing for the future is the fact that digital ads are growing at a very high rate. And I think the future is you're not just seeing a sign in the stadium, you have some sort of way to interact with that sign. You have some sort of way that the fan enters an email so you can get some information on the fan to be able to retarget. And then from there, being able to go to the brand. And again, it's just going to be the question. This is the age old question. Like, it's the same thing with TV versus newspaper ads. Like, why don't people buy newspaper ads? Well, they're not as effective on who you're reaching as, television ads. We're getting to that point in sponsorship to where you are going to constantly have to answer to a brand, whether they ask you it or not, whether you know it or not. You're constantly going to be compared to digital advertising options. And I think the biggest thing is teams need to understand that they can adopt it. And then once they have it in their package, again, we're selling off of emotion. What we can do from there is have all the benefits of a digital ad and the emotional side of our fan base and create a juggernaut product.
Have you worked with AI, AR? And if yes, explain your experience. And if not, what do you think about it?
I think looking at AR, yes. I mean, if you really want to look into the future, going up to a sign on the side of the stadium, showing your phone at it and seeing some sort of interaction or engagement, that's great. Again, like what we always have to ask ourselves when we're thinking of AR is, what's the value to the sponsor, right? Are they going to be fine with the fact that this AR activation only brought views, right? It didn't bring emails. It didn't bring ability to retarget. It didn't bring any couponing, right? If that sponsor is totally fine with just like, this got 10,000 views, 100%, let's do AR. But I think, again, it's, if you're comparing two campaigns, one's a Facebook campaign that targets your exact customer demographic, and one is a cool and sexy AR thing, the math guy in the room is saying, okay, how many sales did that AR get me? And the answer is, well, again, same thing with signage. Well, 10,000 people saw it. I'm sure somebody bought it.
Isn't AR trackable though? Like, isn't AR like can you not take selfies that are interactive that involve you to enter your email that later converts to like a trackable?
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, we need to take AR to the next level. That's going to take that trackability of like, here's a coupon, go use this. I think the greatest one that I saw was when Jordan did the activation where you actually had to go to a physical location, do the Snapchat AR thing, and then you could purchase the shoe, right? And what that does is it gets people hyped, but then it gets them to a physical location, and the only way they can purchase that shoe is being there. That leads to a purchase, right? That's AR done extremely well. Again, there's teams who are absolutely doing it the correct way. My worry, though, with AR is just like, again, it's one of those things where it's like, is this just sexy or does this lead to sales? And that's, I think, the fine line you have to kind of look at is, hey, is this going to actually drive sales for my sponsor or whatever their marketing goal is? Or is it just, hey, this is AR and everybody's talking about it, so we might as well do it?
Boxing fans are traditionally the type to stay at home, watch the fight. Majority of these guys, although there are house viewing parties, majority of the boxing fans that I can speak for today are homebodies. They like to stay at home there to watch the fight because they don't like to hear the bickering from casual boxing fans, as they say. They're very high intellect, fans. So how do we please the fan at home in boxing through some of the work that you do? How do we please that boxing fan at home through brand activation?
First for boxing is, you got to get the younger generation excited, which means you got to get on Snapchat, you got to get on TikTok, you got to be on these platforms where they are. And then as you integrate brands in, you got to say, hey, look, one, what's their goal? Is it awareness? Is it just being the brand for boxing, for boxing fans? And then on the flip side of that, as you regrow the sport, how can you help that brand grow with you so that, boxing fans know, I'll use the example of Campbell's Chunky Soup, right? I mean, like, when you think of the Campbell's Chunky Soup, you think of Donovan McNabb and all of these, great NFL players that have grown. The NFL helped grow that brand through some of these education pieces. Same thing with boxing. As you're educating the fan and that fan base is regrowing back up, how can you then infuse that brand into that experience? And again, if boxing got on Snapchat and basically just did, profiles of who's coming up, but then really made sure that they were hitting the right people, and this includes getting email addresses, retargeting, and all of those things, you could extremely grow it at a very low price, and then you're going to get pay-per-view, you're going to get more boxing fans purchasing, you're going to get more people buying your merchandise, and you're going to have a bigger audience that you can say, hey, I know you spent this much this year, Corona, whoever it may be. Next year, though, my audience has tripled on Snapchat. Is that a platform you want to be on? Great. Let's sign that deal.
I love that, bro. Nick Lawson, man, one of the guys I follow on LinkedIn, one of the guys I follow very heavily when it comes to sponsorship and brand activations. He's more of a mentor than he is a friend. And I just want to wish you the best, bro. I mean, you're kicking ass right now. For everybody who's watching, head over to squadhq.com, see what he's up to. And we're going to definitely work together on some stuff, man. You know what? Let this quarantine pass, and we'll definitely start hooking up with athletes and brands and do some really kick-ass stuff in the sport of boxing together.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. As you can tell, I can talk about this stuff all day. So appreciate it and appreciate your time.